Hello, and welcome to episode 15, day 15 of The Longing. In the past two episodes, we've been reading Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Nietzsche, or however you pronounce it. And before we get started today, reading a bit more, I wanted to talk a bit about, in the last session, and Nietzsche's idea is proposed the last man and the last men. And I already talked a bit about how much that I thought that was a bullshit thing that he's talking about. I just wanted to talk a bit more about how bullshit that seems to me. And I prepared a piece of paper to try and so that I wouldn't clench up and not know what to say when I'm here. Let's see. So we got the whole thing, and I seems to believe that for some reason he really sticks onto, and it's always trying to idle read. I don't want this idle reading. He brings up that like inequality is somehow going inequality he believes is the basis for how greatness comes about, which I get what he's saying. I think that's a pretty age-old idea. It's like you get in like Dark Souls with fire came disparity. When with light comes dark. When there can't be shadows without light that casts those shadows. Those kind of things. Like I get it. I know that at least. But to say that it seems like he's trying to argue that the pursuit of equality is going to create such a lack of disparity that it will end all greatness because there can't be greatness if everybody's equal. It just seems like such a really weird direction to take that and a really bullshit idea to me. And honestly, I feel like I see that around a lot of people acting like, well, we can't have like too much equality because then nothing good would ever happen. That's bullshit. I think most people can realize a little thought that is pretty bullshit to just assume that. What's weird is that it seems like if he wanted to create this idea of fear of stagnation, that he would associate the stagnation with equality when you could easily associate anything with stagnation. If you know the story 1984, it's the whole planet has come into a state of complete stagnation, and it's entirely built on the back of disparity with power and powerless people. As the quote goes in the book, I think it's something along the lines of the future of humanity in this world is a boot crushing a human face forever. Which is the exact opposite of a last men society based around equality. It's a last men society based around inequality. It's just, it seems there's a lot of people, and especially when you get into this era of philosophy, there's a lot of people who are so arrogant and so elitist, and they have this super intense idea of there's the great men, and then there's these pathetic lower men, and there's no helping them. Whoa, they're just content to be happy. That's nothing. You need to suffer and become great, and it's just really annoying. And I really like in Attack on Titan a way that they sort of get into that debate. It's hard to call this sort of thing a debate because a lot of this is completely based on what an individual values. So it's all emotional. It's not really any logic behind it. But I want to pull up that bit of Attack on Titan and read it. So what we have here, we have Keith Shadis, and then we have the main character's mom, Carla. Keith and Carla. And the whole thing gets started when Carla asks Keith, "Are you going to keep doing this until you die?" And she's referring to the fact that he's pursuing this idea of greatness, and he's doing it through military means. He's been going through his whole life saying, "Oh, I'm better than other people, and I'm showing it through this extremely difficult thing I'm doing," basically. And his response, "Do you know why average men can live out their lives and die without accomplishing anything? First off, because they lack imagination. They never find anything more valuable than their own lives, so they live and die, shamelessly creating nothing but shit. Great deeds can never be accomplished by those on the level of ordinary men. In fact, I doubt those scraps of flesh would understand what makes a deed great. And then he insults her character because he's basically he's depressed because she doesn't love him, which is completely, that has nothing to do with my argument. That's just another attack on the character of the person making the argument, which is not what I'm trying to do. But and then we skip ahead to where we then get Carla's response to him. It's further in because it's like a real like drop, like, oh, you dropped this on the, and I'm explaining this in a flashback. So here's Carla's response. Do you really have to be special? Do you really need people's recognition? I don't think so. At the very least, not when it comes to my child. He doesn't need to become great. Why would he have to be better than anyone else? Just look at him. Don't you see how cute he is? He's already great. Because he was born into this world. And I still get shivers. Nice. All right, anyway, back to reading this. I don't know what I was even trying to accomplish there. I just wanted to vent. But let's go on to 10. This had Zarathustra said to his heart when the sun stood at noontide. Then he looked inquiringly aloft, for he heard above him the sharp call of a bird, and behold, an eagle swept through the air in wide circles, and on it hung a serpent, not like a prey, but like a friend, for it kept itself coiled round the eagle's neck. They are mine animals, said Zarathustra, and rejoiced in his heart. The proudest animal under the sun, and the wisest animal under the sun. They have come out to reconnoiter. I don't know that one. They want to know whether Zarathustra still liveth. Verily, do I still live? More dangerous have I found it among men than among animals. In dangerous paths goeth Zarathustra. Let mine animals lead me. When Zarathustra had said this, he remembered the words of the saint in the forest. Then he sighed and spake thus to his heart. Would that I were wiser. Would that I were wise from the very heart, like my serpent. But I am asking the impossible. Therefore do I ask my pride to go always with my wisdom. And if my wisdom should some day forsake me, alas, it loveth to fly away. May my pride then fly with my folly. Thus began Zarathustra's downgoing. Zarathustra's Discourses. 1. The Three Metamorphoses. And it's 1 as in like the Roman numeral 1. So it's different from the other numeration of the passage of this story. The Three Metamorphoses. 3 metamorphoses of the spirit do I designate to you. How the spirit becometh a camel, the camel a lion, and the lion at last a child. Many heavy things are there for the spirit. The strong, load-bearing spirit in which reverence dwelleth, for the heavy and the heaviest longeth its strength. What is heavy? So asketh the load-bearing spirit. Then kneeleth it down like the camel, and wanteth to be well laden. What is the heaviest thing, ye heroes? Asketh the load-bearing spirit, that I may take it upon me and rejoice in my strength. Is it not this, to humiliate oneself in order to mortify one's pride? To exhibit one's folly in order to mock at one's wisdom? Or is it this, to desert our cause when it celebrateth its triumph? To ascend high mountains to tempt the tempter? Or is it this, to feed on the acorns and grass of knowledge, and for the sake of truth to suffer hunger of soul? Or is it this, to be sick and dismiss comforters, and make friends of the deaf, who never hear thy requests? Or is it this, to go into foul water when it is the water of truth, and not disclaim cold frogs and hot toads? Or is it this, to love those who despise us, and give one's hand to the phantom when it is going to frighten us? All these heaviest things the load-bearing spirit taketh upon itself, and like the camel, which, when laden, hasteth into the wilderness, so hasteneth the spirit into its wilderness. But in the loneliest wilderness happeneth the second metamorphosis. Here the spirit becometh a lion. Freedom will it capture, and lordship in its own wilderness. Its last lord it here seeketh, Hostile will it be to him, and to its last god. For victory will it struggle with the great dragon. What is the great dragon which the spirit is no longer inclined to call Lord and God? Thou shalt is the great dragon called, but the spirit of the lion saith, I will. Thou shalt lieth in its path, sparkling with gold, a scale-covered beast, and on every scale glittereth golden. Thou shalt. The values of 1,000 years glitter on those scales, and thus speaketh the mightiest of all dragons. All the values of things glitter on me. All values have already been created, and all created values do I represent. Verily, there shall be no I will any more, thus speaketh the dragon. My brethren, wherefore is there need of the lion and the spirit? Why sufficeth not the beast of burden, which renounceth and is reverent? To create new values, that even the lion cannot yet accomplish, but to create itself freedom for new creating, that can the might of the lion do. To create itself freedom, and give a holy nay even unto duty, for that, my brethren, there is need of the lion. To assume the right to new values, that is the most formidable assumption for a load-bearing and reverent spirit. Verily, unto such a spirit it is praying, and the work of a beast of prey. As its holiest, it once loved thou shalt, now is it forced to find illusion and arbitrariness even in the holiest things, that it may capture freedom from its love. The lion is needed for this capture. But tell me, my brethren, what the child can do, which even the lion could not do. Why hath the praying lion still become a child? Innocence is the child, and forgetfulness a new beginning, a game, a self-rolling wheel, a first movement, a holy yea. Aye, for the game of creating, my brethren, there is needed a holy yea unto life. Its own will, willeth now the spirit, his own world winneth the world's outcast. 3 metamorphoses of the spirit have I designated to you. How the spirit became a camel, the camel a lion, and the lion at last a child. Thus spake Zarathustra, and at that time he abode in the town which is called the Pied Cow. 2. Before we get into 2, let's try and understand the little I understood of that. I kind of got the part about the lion of him. It seems like at least that part is where he's all like, oh, the lion is, we need people to be able to buck authority and buck tradition, and the lion is the representation of our rebellious spirit and our ability to claim for ourselves our own values. And I guess I'm not as confident on the rest. 2. The academic chairs of virtue. People commended unto Zarathustra a wise man, as one who could discourse well about sleep and virtue. Greatly was he honored and rewarded for it, and all the youths sat before his chair. To him went Zarathustra, and sat among the youths before his chair, and thus spake the wise man. Respect and modesty in presence of sleep, that is the first thing, and to go out of the way of all who sleep badly and keep awake at night. Modest is even the thief in presence of sleep. He always stealths softly through the night. Immodest, however, is the night watchman. Immodestly he carrieth his horn. No small art is it to sleep. It is necessary for that purpose to keep awake all day. No small art is to sleep. It is necessary for that purpose to keep awake all day. I don't really... This is particularly confusing to me. 10 times a day must thou overcome thyself. That causeth wholesome weariness and is poppy to the soul. 10 times must thou reconcile again with thyself. For overcoming is bitterness, and badly sleep the unreconciled. 10 truths must thou find during the day, otherwise wilt thou seek truth during the night, and thy soul will have been hungry. 10 times must thou laugh during the day, and be cheerful, otherwise thy stomach, the father of affliction, will disturb thee in the night. Few people know it, but one must have all the virtues in order to sleep well. Shall I bear false witness? Shall I commit adultery? Shall I covet my neighbor's maidservant? All that would ill accord with good sleep. And even if one have all the virtues, there is still one thing needed, to send the virtues themselves to sleep at the right time, that they may not quarrel with one another, the good females. And about thee, thou unhappy one, peace with God and thy neighbor, so desireth good sleep, and peace also with thy neighbor's devil. Otherwise it will haunt thee in the night. Honor to the government and obedience, and also to the crooked government. So desireth good sleep. How can I help it, if power like to walk on crooked legs? He who leadeth his sheep to the greenest pasture shall always be for me the best shepherd. So doth it accord with good sleep. Many honors I want not, nor great treasures. They excite the spleen. But it is bad sleeping without a good name and a little treasure. A small company is more welcome to me than a bad one. But they must come and go at the right time. So doth it accord with good sleep. Well, also, do the poor in spirit please me. They promote sleep. Blessed are they, especially if one always gives in to them. Thus passeth the day unto the virtuous. When night cometh, then take I good care not to summon sleep. It disliketh to be summoned. Sleep, the lord of the virtues. But I think of what I have done and thought during the day. Thus ruminating, patient as a cow, I ask myself, what were thy 10 overcomings? What were the 10 reconciliations, and the 10 truths, and the 10 laughters with which my heart enjoyed itself? Thus pondering, and cradled by 40 thoughts, it overtaketh me all at once. Sleep, the unsummoned, the lord of virtue. Sleep tappeth on mine eye, and it turneth heavy. Sleep toucheth my mouth, and it remaineth open. Verily, on soft souls doth it come to me, the dearest of thieves, and stealeth from me my thoughts. Stupid do I then stand, like this academic chair. But not much longer do I then stand, I already lie. When Zarathustra heard the wise man thus speak, he laughed in his heart, for thereby had a light dawned upon him, and thus spake he to his heart. A fool seemeth this wise man with his 40 thoughts, but I believe he knoweth well how to sleep. Happy even is he who liveth near this wise man. Such sleep is contagious, even through a thick wall it is contagious. A magic resideth even in his academic chair, and not in vain did the youth sit before the preacher of virtue. His wisdom is to keep awake in order to sleep well. And verily, if life had no sense, and had I to choose nonsense, this would be the desirablest nonsense for me also. Now know I well what people sought formerly above all else when they sought teachers of virtue. Good sleep they sought for themselves, and poppy had virtues to promote it. To all those belauded sages of the academic chairs, wisdom was sleep without dreams. They knew no higher significance of life. Even at present, to be sure, there are some like this preacher of virtue, and not always so honorable. But their time is past, and not much longer do they stand. There they already lie. Blessed are those drowsy ones, for they shall soon nod to sleep. Thus spake Zarathustra. So I was really confused because at first I thought that the wise man was Zarathustra. But then we get the reveal that Zarathustra is just doing his whole thing of listening to other people and then being all like, huh, what an idiot. He's not as smart as I am. And he's just sitting there listening. And I feel like, as for more of the meat of what's trying to be said here, I feel like I almost understand, and maybe when I'm editing this and I re-listen to what I just read, I might have a better understanding of what it was trying to say. So far, that's been fairly true, as I've done that with the past chapters as I've read them. I understood them better as I heard myself speak of them. But I think I'll end it here, and I'll talk to you next time.